I want to say something to you before we go anywhere else in this reading. Something that I do not say lightly and that I need you to actually receive rather than deflect. Are you ready? Here it is. What you have been through would have broken most people, and you are not broken. I want you to sit with that for a moment before your mind immediately moves to qualify it, to minimize it, to find the counter argument, to remind yourself of all the ways you have not handled things perfectly, or all the moments where you felt anything but strong. I want you to hold that statement. What you have been through would have broken most people, and you are not broken, and let it mean something. Let it be true. Let it register not just as words on a screen, but as a fact about you that deserves to be acknowledged. Because here is what I keep sensing when I sit with your energy today, Virgo, and it is something that stops me every single time I return to it. There is a quality in you that is genuinely not common. I do not mean that as flattery. I mean it as an observation, the kind of observation that comes from sitting with a lot of energy across a lot of readings and recognizing when something unusual appears that it is unusual. And what is in you, this particular quality of mental and emotional fortitude that you have developed, not inherited, not been handed, but forged through specific, repeated, genuinely difficult experience, is something that the people around you have noticed, even when they have not found the language for it, even when they have not said it directly. Even when the admiration has lived in them as a quiet thing, a private recognition, a thought they carry without always speaking, they see it. They have always seen it. And today, this reading is going to say out loud what they have been thinking. Let me tell you something about the specific nature of the strength I am feeling in your energy, because I think precision matters here. I am not talking about the kind of strength that looks strong. I am not talking about the performance of resilience, the tight smile, the I'm fine, the carefully maintained appearance of someone who has things together. That kind of strength is available to almost everyone who cares enough about appearances to maintain it. What I am sensing in you is something entirely different. It is the kind of strength that exists in the private moments, in the 3 a.m. moments when there is no audience, no one to hold it together for, no external motivation to keep going. The kind of strength that operates when you are completely alone with your own reality and your own pain and your own uncertainty, and you choose anyway to keep going, not because it is easy, not because you are not feeling every bit of how hard it is, but because something in you, some core thing that has proven to be essentially indestructible, simply refuses to stop. That is not ordinary. That is not the baseline. That is something built, something developed through exactly the kind of hardship that would have justified a different response entirely. And here is the thing I need to say about that hardship, because I think it is the most important reframe in this entire reading. You had options. When things got hard, and they did get hard, harder than most people around you probably realize, harder than you have always let on, you had options about what to do with that difficulty. You could have used it as an explanation, as a reason why things could not work out for you, why certain doors were closed, why certain standards were impossible to maintain, why a lower version of yourself was all that could reasonably be expected given what you had been through. That narrative was available to you, and nobody would have blamed you for inhabiting it, because what you have been through has been real. It has been legitimately difficult. It has been the kind of thing that earns you the right to say, I could not help what happened to me. But you did not say that. You did not make it an excuse. You did not use your pain as a ceiling. You used it as a foundation. You looked at what had been hard, and instead of building a case for why it had limited you, you built something from it. You extracted from every difficult experience not just the wound, but the wisdom. Not just the loss, but the learning. Not just the pain, but the power that comes if you are willing to do the work from having survived something real. That choice, that specific, daily, unglamorous, unwitnessed choice is what has made you who you are. And who you are is someone that people genuinely admire, not from a distance, not in the abstract, but in the specific, particular way you can only admire someone whose actual life you have observed up close and whose response to difficulty has taught you something about what is possible. Let me stay here for a moment because I want to speak to something that I feel underneath all of this for you. Something that runs quietly beneath the strength, beneath the fortitude, beneath everything I have been describing, and that is the fact that being the strong one is not always what it appears from the outside. The people who admire your strength do not always fully register what it costs. They see the outcome, the composure, the capability, the way you continue to function and show up and deliver even when everything beneath the surface is complicated, and they interpret that as ease, as though it is natural for you, effortless for you, as though you simply have a higher tolerance for difficulty than other people and therefore it affects you less. It does not affect you less. It affects you as much as it would affect anyone. The difference is what you do with it once it has affected you. The difference is that you do not stop. And that distinction between feeling it fully and stopping and feeling it fully and continuing is the entirety of what separates where you are from where you would be if you had made different choices along the way. That distinction is everything. And I want to make sure you understand it because I think sometimes you look at your own strength from the inside and wonder if it really counts as strength since it has never felt like a choice. Since it has always just felt like the only available option, since continuing has always felt less like courage and more like simply what you do. But that is exactly what courage is. Courage is not the absence of fear or exhaustion or doubt. Courage is continuing in the presence of all three. And you have been doing that for longer and with more consistency than you have ever given yourself credit for. I want to speak now about the specific things the people in your life see when they look at you, because I feel this very clearly, and I think it is something you deserve to hear, even if hearing it feels uncomfortable. Even if your first instinct is to deflect, what they see first is your consistency, the fact that you show up, not just when it is convenient, not just when you are at your best, not just when the circumstances make it easy, but persistently, repeatedly, across the difficult days as well as the good ones. They see someone who can be counted on in a way that has become, for some of them, something they quietly structure their lives around. something they depend on in ways they may not have even fully articulated to themselves. Your consistency has been a stabilizing force in spaces that would have been more chaotic without you. And while that is not always recognized out loud, it is always felt. What they see second is your discernment, the quality of your judgment, your ability to read situations and people with an accuracy that continues to prove itself over time. People have watched you make calls about things that they disagreed with in the moment and then watched those calls turn out to be exactly right. They have seen you sense something about a person or a situation before the evidence was visible and then watched the evidence arrive. They have noticed that your read on things is not casual, that it comes from somewhere deeper than opinion, that it carries a quality of knowing that they have learned to respect even when it challenges their own perspective. That discernment, that specific, earned, deeply calibrated ability to see clearly is something people around you genuinely admire, even the ones who would never say so directly. What they see third, and this is perhaps the thing they find most remarkable, the thing that produces the most genuine admiration, is your refusal to become bitter, because bitterness would have been so understandable. Given what you have been through, given the moments where things were not fair, given the experiences where you gave something real and it was not honored the way it deserved to be, bitterness would have been the most natural response in the world. And the fact that you have not hardened into it, that you remain, despite everything, someone who can still extend genuine warmth, genuine care, genuine investment in the people and things that matter to you, that is the thing that most takes people's breath away when they really think about it. Remaining open after what you have been through is an act of profound courage that you have never once described as courage. You have just done it quietly, consistently, without asking for acknowledgement. And the people watching have noticed. I want to speak now about what this strength is attracting into your life, because I feel it very specifically. And I think it is important for you to understand the connection between who you have become and what is now moving toward you. There is a quality to what approaches you that matches the quality of what you have built in yourself. And I mean that in the most literal, energetic sense. Like attracts like, depth attracts depth. Substance attracts substance. The work you have done on yourself, the internal work, the private work, the work that nobody witnessed and nobody rewarded and nobody even knew was happening, that work has been broadcasting, has been sending a signal. And what that signal is drawing toward you is not superficial, it is not casual, it is not the kind of connection or opportunity or recognition that arrives and then evaporates because it was never built on anything real. What is coming toward you is solid, it has weight, it is the kind of thing that lasts in the area of relationship. And I feel this strongly. What your energy is beginning to attract is someone who is not intimidated by your strength. And I want to say that carefully because I think it is more specific than it might initially sound. You have been in spaces, relational spaces, where your strength was something that needed to be managed. Where being too capable, too clear, too self sufficient made certain people uncomfortable in ways they could not always articulate, but that you could feel, where you learned sometimes to make yourself appear to need more than you actually needed in order to make others feel necessary, or where you simply stayed in connections that could not hold the full weight of what you are because full weight felt like too much. What is coming does not need you to be less. What is coming is drawn to you specifically because of the weight you carry, not despite it. Someone who has done their own work, someone who has been through their own fire and come out of it with a similar quality of refinement. Someone who looks at your strength not with intimidation but with recognition. The recognition of someone who knows what it costs to be that way because they know what it costs them to become who they are. That meeting, that recognition between two people who have both paid the price of becoming is something rare, and I feel it in your energy as something approaching. Now, I want to speak about what this strength means for the practical dimension of your life, for the work, the purpose, the material reality, because I feel it equally clearly, and I want to be specific. The mental strength that has been built in you through everything you have been through has given you a capacity for sustained effort, for delayed gratification, for continuing when results are not immediately visible, that most people simply do not possess. And in the practical world, in the world where things are actually built, where actual progress is actually made, that capacity is worth more than almost any other single quality, more than talent alone, more than intelligence alone, more than connections or luck or the advantages that come from starting in a better position. The ability to continue, specifically, to continue with integrity and with quality when continuing is difficult, is the engine behind almost every significant thing that has ever been built. You have that engine. You have had it the whole time. And what I keep sensing is a context arriving, a circumstance, an opportunity, a stage where that engine is going to be given something worthy of it, something that actually requires what you have, something that can absorb your full capacity rather than only a fraction of it, something that will, for perhaps the first time in a long time, make you feel that you are operating at the level you are actually capable of rather than beneath it. That feeling of being fully used, fully challenged, fully met by the thing you are putting your energy into is one of the most profound experiences available to a human being. And I feel it coming for you, not as a distant possibility, as something building toward arrival. I want to close this reading in a specific way because I feel that the closing needs to match the tone of everything that has come before it. This reading has been about strength, about what has been built in you through difficulty, about how the people around you see something in you that you do not always see in yourself. And I want the closing to honor that not with softness, but with the directness that this reading deserves. So here it is, Virgo. Here is the direct truth of what I want to leave you with. You have earned the life that is coming. Not in the sense that suffering is a currency that purchases good things. It is not that simple and it is not that transactional. But in the sense that who you have become through everything you have been through is precisely, specifically the person equipped to build and hold and sustain what is approaching. Someone who had not been through what you have been through could not hold it, would not know how to maintain it when it got difficult, would not have the internal resources to protect it, to nurture it, to continue choosing it on the days when it required choosing. You have those resources, You built them yourself through things that were not fair, through seasons that were not kind, through moments where you had every right to stop and did not. You built them, and they are yours in a way that nothing external can take away. The people who admire your strength are not admiring something you performed. They are admiring something real, something they have witnessed be tested repeatedly and hold. Something they have seen remain consistent under pressure that would have changed most people. They admire you because you are admirable, not as a consolation, as a fact. Go forward from this reading knowing what you have built, knowing what you carry, knowing that the strength that sometimes feels like a burden, the weight of being the one who does not break, the one who continues, the one who keeps going, is also simultaneously the most extraordinary thing about you. You turned hardship into power. That is not a small thing, that is everything. If this reading named something true about you today, if it said out loud something that you have lived but never quite heard spoken, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you have turned into power. Tell me what you have refused to use as an excuse. Tell me what you are still building. I read every word, and I am genuinely honored by this community. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their strength is seen and valued. A like helps this reach the people it is meant for, and if you are not subscribed yet, I would love to walk this journey with you. Virgo, you are not just surviving. You never were. You have been building, and what you have built is something to be in absolute awe of.